Hello, good morning. This is your Chef Sumit Pant. I was awarded as Chef of the Year by ICF, and with me I have today.
Good morning, I'm Ankit Mehta, an India's first bronze medalist and Student Chef of the Year awarded by Indian Culinary Forum.
Today we're presenting to you a very important topic, which is plating concepts. Now, as a faculty, I've seen a number of students who can cook very well, but when they go out for trade tests or when they go out to competition, they fall flat because they don't understand the concepts of plating. So we're going to discuss in details today what are the basic concepts and what are the things to be kept in mind while we plate the food. So to begin with, Ankit, please tell us the factors that is important to consider for plating.
Absolutely, sir. So the first and the foremost important concept, which is mandatory or should everyone be kept in mind, is that the portion size. Many of us cook really well, but when we begin to plate food, we either over portion the food or we fall under the portion size. So the first and the foremost important thing is appetizers, because appetizers are the one which increases the appetite of an individual. So the portion size of an appetizer should exceed 80 grams, but should not also exceed 120 grams. So it should be between 80 grams and 120 grams, which should include your sauces in an appetizer and also your various components such as garnishes.
Now, if we are talking about the portion size, now here you have to keep in mind we are presenting a 4-course menu in which we are serving appetizer, soup, main course and dessert. Now everything has been portioned accordingly. So if we have to present the appetizer, you can't give appetizer which is like half kg of weight. So you have to be very specific with the weights. For like Ankit mentioned, appetizer should be around something around 80 to 120 grams. Then we have soup, which should be 150 to 88 180 grams. Then we have mains. Now mains are always divided into 3 parts. There should be a protein, there should be a fiber, there should be a starch. When I say fiber, it means vegetables. When I say starch, it means pasta, it means rice, it means potato. So the division is 150 grams of the protein, 30 grams of starch, 30 grams of fibers, 20 grams is your sauce and garnish. Now garnish is something which Ankit is going to explain to you why garnish is very important in the plate.
So when we actually eat the food first with our eyes, then even before tasting it. So garnishes plays a really important role. If your food is not looking appealing, one would never want to eat it. So garnishes is very important. The garnishes can be of various types. It can be your basic potato twirls, parmesan twirls, maybe some edible flowers, you name it. The garnishes are endless. And garnishes are the one which changes the entire look of the plate. So garnishes are important.
I'm talking about sauce. Now sauce is something, if I talk about Indian food, it is like the gravies, right? Now sauce is something which complements the food, which gives food the moisture, So it should be very super tasty. Now your sauce should never be lumpy, it should never be too thick. Depending on what you're making, the sauce should always complement the food. Okay, in the last comes desserts. Now Ankit is going to explain to you why desserts are important. Ankit?
So the weight of the dessert should be between 80 grams to 120 grams, and this should include the main dessert along with sauces, if any served, and some garnishes, which can be of various textures. And another point I would like to tell you that whenever you plan a menu, you should always consider dishes from one region or from one country.
This is a very important point, guys. Very important point.
Yes, because I've also seen that many students or many chefs even plan the menu. The 3 of 2 courses are from one region, and the desserts and maybe an appetizer are from other region. And the other reason is why they fall flat whenever they go out for a competition or a trade test. So it is very important to plan a menu from the same region.
Like for example, if you're planning an Italian menu, right? So you can't put a French dessert in the end. So if you're planning to make an Italian menu, make sure everything is Italian. The starter, the soup, the main, the dessert, everything comes from the same country. Okay. Okay, so that was about your portion size. I hope you understood how much should the weight of the starter, the appetizer, the soup, the main, the dessert. Now we come to the next very important point, that is the color combination. How your plate should look like. So Ankit is going to explain to you what does exactly we mean by color combination.
So as I mentioned earlier, that we eat food with our eyes before we even touch it. So colors play a very important role in a plate. So when we talk about color combination, the color of a protein, fiber, starch, sauces and garnishes should be in a manner that they complement each other.
Or maybe they're different from each other.
Yes, but not in a way that they overpower each other's presence. For example, you take a deep fried chicken, maybe some golden brown or deep dark brown color, but if you serve a dark brown colored sauce with it and when you pour over it, the sauce is only visible. The texture or the color of the chicken might get disappeared. Which
they may look very same. The sauce is a brown color, the chicken is a brown color. There is no combination on the plate, right? They may look very same, similar.
Which creates a negative impact on the judge or on the evaluator, who is evaluating you. So, as you talk about colors of fibers, we get various types of vegetables, various colors. You name it and the vegetable is there. Carrots, maybe some zucchini, yellow zucchini, bell peppers. There are a lot number of vegetables which are present in the market today. So my advice is to utilize them and make your food look presentable and colorful.
Yeah, vegetables is something which you can exactly do some lot of creativity with that. Like for example, you can put a lot of colors in your plate by using vegetables. For example, you take broccoli, then you take carrots, then you take something, maybe a beetroot. So vegetable is something which provides a lot of colors. So you can do really good with the vegetables. And then we talk about the sauce.
So sauces can also be various types, maybe butter sauces, some demi-glaze, some reductions. So all of these are of different colors. So when you talk about butter sauces provide also some really good texture and also some colors, such as maybe some whitish or creamish color to a dark yellowish color to a beurre blanc. So colors are also being enhanced by sauces, and it also enhances the whole texture or the whole look of a plate.
I would like to add a little information here. I have seen a lot of competitions in which students take part. They are generally doing a demi-glaze and they are generally doing a jus. That's all. But trust me, if you go and read this book called Professional Chefs, you will find a lot of sauce and a lot of tasty sauce which are there. So don't just stick yourself with two sauces, which is a brown color. There's a lot of sauce which comes green color, other color of sauce. So you can actually put more elements in your plates.
So
did we miss the starch?
Yes, we missed the starch.
Let's discuss about the starch.
Right. So the starch. Starch means potatoes, rice, pastas, and some risottos, for example. So potatoes can be of various types, various textures, such as some deep fried potato wedges, some slow roasted potatoes, maybe some Asian style honey, chili sort of potatoes, hazelback potatoes. So these provide a lot of color, and as these are roasted or maybe deep fried, the color of the presentation of the potato also change, which gives a variation of colors in the plate.
So last thing we are left with garnish. Now garnish is something which most of the people at many times forget to put on their plate. Now there are two types of garnish. One is a cooked garnish, one is an uncooked garnish. Now garnish adds a lot of elements in your plate. This is like a final icing on your plate. You cannot miss that. But if you go to a competition, trust me, there are points on garnish. So many students, they completely miss the garnish things. So I would always advise you to put the garnish in your plate.
And another advice I want to give you that is always use garnish which is edible. Never put anything which is inedible on the plate. Because sometimes I've seen people doing that, putting flowers which are not exactly edible or not even knowing the name of the flowers. So that is a negative.
There's a lot of edible flowers. If you search net, there are a lot of edible flowers. They're very simple. Just put them on the plate. They add colors to your plate. But the thing is, you should know their name and you should be sure that it is edible, right?
And I have also seen many plates in which there are usage of shells of seafood, which is also not edible because we cannot eat the shells of seafood. So I'll request you to not use that because as it is inedible, it creates a negative impact on the guest or a person who is evaluating.
The basic idea is when you're presenting a plate to the guest should not take out anything from the plate which is not edible. Whatever is reaching to your guest should be edible. So we have discussed till now. We have discussed about the portion size. We have discussed about the color combination. Now next very important point is textures. Now Ankit is going to explain to you how textures play a very important role in this.
So textures, when we eat food, if we get food which is of similar texture, we don't actually feel the differentiation between eating a mashed potato, maybe a chicken, or even getting a sauce. So textures are very important. So my advice before even starting to cook is that to take a pen and a paper and write down the textures which everything gives on a plate. For example, if you're cooking a sauteed chicken, the texture is soft. If you're cooking creamy mashed potato, the texture is again soft. So
And if you give sauteed vegetables with this, everything becomes very, very soft, right?
yes, and the plate overall becomes out to be not crunchy and lump free, maybe, or a lumpy mashed potato can ruin this thing. So my advice is to avoid using same textures in a plate. Maybe if you're providing a deep fried chicken, go ahead with some maybe creamy mashed potato, because the crunch and the creaminess goes really well, and the sauce by the side can enhance it. But if you're providing a sauteed chicken along with the creamy mashed potato, it can go wrong. So I advise you to create some crunch with some potatoes or some vegetables by giving some roast potatoes or roast vegetables also.
So the basic idea is if your protein is of a soft texture, like it is sauteed, then the starch and the fibers can be crispy. Like if you're giving like Ankit mentioned, if you're giving a saute, a pan-seared chicken, with that, what can go is a crispy fried potatoes, right? And roast vegetables can go with that. Sauce, look, Ankit mentioned lumps. Now lumps should never be there in a sauce. If you're making a sauce which is full of lump, you will never enjoy that food, right? Now one point that Ankit mentioned about a fried chicken. Now if you're giving something fried on your plate, if it is mentioned fried, when I eat that, it should be crunchy. When you make a fried food, whatever it is, if you make a fried fish, you make a fried chicken, never pour your sauce on top of it. Now what that will do is, that will take away all the crispiness from your fried food. So that is why the textures are very, very important.
So, and it is also recommended to provide sauces on the side if you think that sauces can also ruin your presentation or a texture of your dish. So a sauce board or a gravy board is highly recommended.
Yeah, a sauce board can always go by the side. It looks very pretty. So there's no need that you have to put your sauce on the plate. If you think the sauce is not going well with the food and it is spoiling the texture of the food, it can always go on the side. So with this, we have come to the last category about plating food, that is temperatures. Now what care and precaution we have to take care while talking about temperature, Ankit is going to explain.
So when we talk about a food which is served to be served hot, it should always be served hot. Let me take an example of soup. If you're serving a soup, the temperature of soup should always exceed 70 degrees Celsius. So that whenever it reaches to the guest or a person who is tasting it, it still stays between 65 to 70 degrees Celsius, which is above the danger zone temperature. So that the food is also not having any chance of getting contaminated. So whenever we talk also about desserts, most of the desserts are served cold. So by that, when we say cold, we don't mean that room temperature cold. We always mean that it should always be served in the temperature zone of 1 degree Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius, which is again a safe zone temperature. And by the time it reaches to the guest, it might be maybe a degree or two above the temperature, but it's still considered a safe zone temperature.
And another two factors which are very important when you talk about temperature is, and a common mistake that students often do is, undercooking or overcooking the food. This is one thing you should avoid, right Ankit? What do you think?
Absolutely. Because even with me, I've done many mistakes by giving some undercooked food, and it is always necessary or advisable to carry a thermometer or maybe a toothpick even to judge that whether the meat is overcooked or undercooked. By just pressing the toothpick in the center or maybe the thickest part of the protein, and if it goes neatly inside the meat and comes out clean.
And there is no blood following
No
the
blood
toothpick.
following.
It's only juices which is coming out from the place you prick the meat.
Yes.
That means the meat has been cooked.
Cooked.
So this was about your plating techniques. I hope you really liked the video and you understood something and gained some knowledge by the video. Thanks.
And we really hope that you perform well and all the best.
Cheers.